What do Harry Houdini, Napoleon III, the Emperor of France, and J-Hope from BTS all have in common? They all share a chapter in the history of one of the world's greatest luxury brands, Louis Vuitton. But here's the surprising part. Louis Vuitton didn't become a luxury brand because of marketing. It became luxury because it became relentlessly better than everyone else. And that's the lesson every Canadian business owner needs to hear. If you ask most people what makes a luxury brand, they'll say expensive materials, beautiful stores, celebrity endorsements, or incredible marketing, and they're wrong. Those things come later. Luxury begins with obsession, an obsession with making the product better than anyone else. Long before Louis Vuitton became a global fashion icon, he was simply a guy trying to solve a problem with a product that many people use every day. Today, I want to talk through the history of Louis Vuitton, not as a fashion story, but as a business story, because buried inside is a blueprint for becoming premium. Louis Vuitton wasn't born into wealth. In France, at the age of 13 years, he left his village and walked 470 kilometers to Paris, taking odd jobs along the way, before eventually apprenticing as a trunk maker. This wasn't glamorous work. He wasn't designing handbags or walking fashion runways. He learned the art of crafting luggage from the ground up. Back then, travel was becoming more and more common among Europe's wealthy. People carried delicate clothing, expensive dresses, hats, artwork, and valuables. If the luggage failed, everything was ruined. So Louis Vuitton focused on one thing. How do I build the best trunk anyone has ever used? Not the cheapest, not the trendiest, but the best. He wasn't trying to build a luxury brand. He was trying to become the best craftsman in his category. Luxury followed. At the time, almost every trunk had a rounded top. Why? Rain would run off the top during a horse carriage travel, and while that seems logical, it created a problem. You couldn't stack them, and that wasted valuable space in steamship holds and train cars. It required handlers to take more time to load the pieces individually and reduce the amount of luggage each passenger could travel with. So while everyone else accepted the standard, Louis Vuitton questioned it. In 1858, he introduced the flat top trunk, covered in lightweight, waterproof Trianon canvas. Suddenly, his luggage stacked neatly on trains and ships. Travelers could take more luggage, loading became faster and easier, travel became easier. This wasn't an innovation for innovation's sake. It wasn't adding features nobody asked for. It solved a real problem. That's what premium businesses do. They don't ask, how can I make this look different? They ask, how can we genuinely make this better? Most businesses hit a point where they say, it's good enough. Louis Vuitton never did. Counterfeiters started copying his trunks. By then, Louis Vuitton's son, George, had followed in his father's footsteps and wanted to combat the problem of counterfeit products. George introduced new canvas patterns, first stripes, then the damier checkerboard, eventually the famous LV monogram. These weren't just branding exercises, they were practical attempts to stay ahead of imitators and protect the originality of their product. Then came the locks. As travel became more and more common, prices dropped and popularity skyrocketed. But then the problem was that thieves started picking luggage locks. And as most people traveled with their worldly possessions, having your luggage broken into became a huge problem for travelers. George knew that if he made the most sophisticated lock, travelers would want to buy Louis Vuitton luggage. So he developed one of the most sophisticated trunk locks of the era, the tumbler lock. It became so respected that he publicly challenged Harry Houdini to escape from one of the locked trunks. Houdini never did accept the challenge, which was seen as a huge public relations boost, that their locks were so strong and made with such incredible craftsmanship that even the most well-known escape artists of the time refused to even try, and demand for their product followed. In 1925, Coco Chanel famously commissioned a smaller piece, a bespoke handbag from Vuitton, marketing their entrance into the small leather goods market. Today, that handbag style is still available, known as the Alma. Over 100 years after the company that made luxury luggage, purses, and wallets was founded, they expanded the company internationally, opening its first international store in Japan in 1978. 10 years later, Louis Vuitton merged with a champagne and cognac company called Moet and Chandon and Hennessy to form the luxury goods conglomerate LVMH. Today, that name represents over 75 luxury brands, including Christian Dior, Fendi, Givenchy, Tiffany & Company, Bulgari, and more. Before Louis Vuitton became famous worldwide, he became the personal trunk maker for Empress Eugenie, the wife of Napoleon III. Think about that. He didn't become great because royalty hired him. Royalty hired him because he's already great. There's a more important business lesson here. Too many companies chase prestige first. They want awards, media coverage, followers, influencers. Luxury brands chase mastery. Prestige simply follows. Even today, celebrities, athletes, and musicians like J-Hope from the K-pop supergroup BTS carry Louis Vuitton. But none of that created the brand. It merely reflected what had already been built over generations. Now, here's where I think many Canadian businesses lose the plot. When growth comes, they stop improving the work. They think, I'm good enough. And instead of improving themselves, they try to improve their marketing. Better logos, better websites, more ads, more automation. And while those things matter, they only matter after the product becomes the best. The businesses that become premium don't obsess over looking premium, they obsess over earning it. Every project becomes slightly better than the last one. Every estimate gets cleaner. Every installation tighter. Every customer interaction becomes more refined. Over years, those improvements compound. Luxury isn't created overnight, it's accumulated, one improvement at a time. Louis Vuitton didn't become one of the world's most valuable luxury brands because someone came up with a brilliant marketing campaign. It became luxury because generation after generation refused to accept good enough. They kept improving. They kept refining. Generation after generation. They kept asking, how do we make this even better? That's the real luxury mindset. Whether you install roofs, detail vehicles, build custom cabinets, or own a plumbing company, your next level probably isn't hiding inside a bigger advertising budget. It's hiding inside a better product. Because eventually the businesses that obsess over perfection become the businesses everyone else compares themselves to. And that's how luxury brands are built.